When my friend asked me, how do I write my poetry, I was stumped. I didn't want to tell her that I use ink harbored from my tears, that every letter word and phrase is distress because I've been yelling for years. How do I write my poetry? Well, first, I do a little bit of dying on the inside, and I put it on paper, editing my feelings that are not valid enough for the human ears, reading over and over and over again till it brings me back to life. My poetry is detrimental, so often am I hit with writer's block that I forget to block the censor stuff that you can't hear on family TV. The things that make me me when I write my poetry, it gives me an out-of-body experience to look down on a broken woman creating Van Goghs out of ballpoint pens and notebook canvas. How do I tell her that poetry is not just metaphors, but is the very oxygen when the air gets too thick? How do I tell her that poetry is the star that makes midnight worthy of time, time that keeps moving even when the heart stops? No matter how many words I put on this paper, time will keep beating me to finish lines. How do I tell her that in my 19 years of living, there will never be enough time to teach her how I write my poetry? It's funny how hands on the clock are long enough to keep rhythm of our days, but they will never be long enough to keep the concepts nestled in each hour. I just can't tell her that spoken word is not a performance. That for people like me, poetry is strictly poetry. That sometimes we're consumed by emotions far too valuable for words, so we pressurize diamonds and rust so that maybe our listeners might hear our emotions shine. How do I tell her that every line that I write is packed with abandonment issues of a little girl who only wants to know her father? How do I tell her that when I write, it burns like the dreams of my mother's crack pipe? How the fuck do I tell her that poetry is just poetry? You have to feel it, that pens can never pinpoint your feelings, but they damn sure can come close, that notebooks won't put food on the table, but sometimes food for thought is all that you need. When my friend asked me, how do I write my poetry, I was stumped. All I could think was, pain. Thank you.